episode 22 Boomer Guitar Sessions. Today we talk about the most important musical development of the last 150 years, the blues and the 12-bar blues chord progression. It is the most important song form to come along in the last 150 years and influenced everything that is American in some way. So it's country music, it's rock and roll, it's jazz, it's swing, it's anything that had people playing together in small groups, and anybody who's playing riffs and anybody who's playing solos and any of that stuff, that is, you have the blues to thank for that. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a little bit of the history of it. The blues came from the work song, which is, we're going to start keeping track in the mid 1800s, though work songs existed before there was before we were paying attention and writing things down. These were the songs that kept us from going crazy when we were picking cotton and doing the hardest work in the world. And thorns on the cotton. It's not easy to get the cotton, and it's picking that in the bad heat and all that kind of stuff. So work songs were the things that stopped us from going crazy. It kept us on task, and it kept our spirits going. And it was like a good energy source. A lot of this stuff came from the work songs come from like spirituals. It was a lot of, it's all improvisational, but the roots with African songs, spirituals, folk music, all kinds of stuff, and lots of improvisation. They needed improvisation in the cotton fields because different tasks call for different tempos and different cadences, work cadences. So they would come up with a work cadence that worked with something that they're singing that goes along with the job that they had to do. So with that said, number one composer of the 20th century, who do you think it is? Who do you think it is? Who is the most important person of the 20th century in regards to influence? I'm not talking about my favorite person. I'm talking about in terms of influence. Whose musical contributions inspired everybody and informed everybody? And that guy would be W.C. Handy. So who W.C. Handy was, he was one of the first people to, and as far as we're concerned, let's say he invented the 12-bar blues. Okay, he was a musician, but he would take all these melodies that he heard in the cotton fields, and he heard in the bar rooms, and he heard in all these things, and he would store that, and those would be the melodies that he starts with when he was composing his music. So what he would do is he would take that, and then later on down the road, he would write songs with it. So, for example, 1912, he wrote a song called Memphis Blues. It was one of the earliest published 12-bar blues songs. In the time that it was created, this was one of those songs that if you wanted to play something that was popular in the bar rooms and in wherever people were having a good time, you had to learn this song. Okay, it's the song that everybody had to learn, and in order to learn it, you had to learn how to do some stuff. You had to learn how to do some stuff that is now we call bluesy. Okay, so Memphis Blues, to play the Memphis Blues, you have to learn how to play without any music in front of you. You learn some variations, some themes and variations. You learn you learn how to solo over top of it in time. In time that would happen. You learn some variations because everybody played it a little bit differently. Okay. So it was a super, super popular song, and this super popular song spread. And other songs were written like that. So in short, that 12-bar blues chord progression that W.C. Handy created in the early 1900s, it has been the catalyst for rock and roll, country music, swing music, R&B, rhythm and blues. Rhythm and blues started in the 40s. They started calling it rhythm and blues in the 40s. Before that, it was race records. Anything that was race related. Okay, all of that stuff, country music, it all goes from the same source, goes to the same source if you trace back its roots. And that is the 12 bar blues chord progression and the blues. And we've talked about it, the blues' importance before. This is not that lesson. What this lesson is how are we going to how are we going to understand the form of the 12 bar blues? So when we say 12 bar blues, what we're talking about is 12 measures. Okay, so it's a 12 measure form. Okay, classical music had sonata form. Classical music had all kinds of other forms within what we have in America is we have the 12 bar blues form. That is our unique stamp in music. So 12 bar blues, 12 measures. Now, I think let's see, what we can do is I'm going to play like, so the first four measures is going to be what is referred to as the one chord. So in the key of A, that sound is going to be that's the first thing. The blues is based off of not a major sound, not a minor sound, but a dominant sound. Okay, that's called dominant. In the blues, the dominant that's the third tonality. It is not major nor minor, it is somewhere in between, and it's like, it does things that neither major or minor do. And you can combine major and minor with this. So with that said, the easiest blues I can comprehend is four measures of your one chord in the key of A would be 1. 2, 3, 4. Then it goes to the 4 chord for 2 measures. Back to 1. Then it goes to the 5 chord, which is E7. And then back to the 1 chord for 2 measures. Now that is the easiest blues I can comprehend. That is the one that I see as being the easiest version. Okay, so now what, for me, we talk about the blues. To me, it's easier when you're learning this to see it written out, the chords that I just played. So this is what we're looking at when we're looking at the blues. So it's 4 measures of your A7 chord, 2 measures, 2 measures, and 2 measures. 2 measures, 2 measures, 2 measures, 2 measures. That is the easiest blues ever. And then all those measures combined equals to 12 bar blues. And then what you do then is you repeat. You repeat. Now, in the 12 bar blues, there's lots of variations on this form. Okay, we're going to discuss another variation of it. So, and then we're going to discuss some melody to go over top of it. Okay, so with that said, the first variation, this is your most basic of all blueses. The first variation is what we call the quick 4 variation. What the quick 4 is in measure 2, we have a D7 chord. That's the 4 chord. If you go to the D7 chord, then that is the quick 4. That is the quick 4 in the second measure. Now, the last 4 measures, we have the beginning 4 measures, we have the middle 4 measures, and then the ending 4 measures goes from 5 to 4 to 1. Okay, so so that is the quick 4. So with that said, There's other things in the blues, in the 12 bar blues, that make it unique and different. And each blues there's probably countless variations of this, that some things that will always happen. If we're playing blues in A, measure 1 is always going to be an A7 or an A minor. There's such a thing as a minor blues too. And then measure 4 is almost always the 4 chord. Okay. A lot of the other stuff, it varies. So for example, if we have in measures, this is going to be the last blues that we're going to look at. Now this is crazy looking blues. This crazy looking blues is a jazz person's treatment of it. They did lots of reharmonizations. Okay, so now you notice in measures 11 and 12, you have a 2 measure, what is referred to as a turnaround. Now, turnarounds are a thing. There's lots of different turnarounds. That is something that you can study in the blues, and listen to your favorite blues artists who played the blues. Who played the blues? You have Stevie Ray Vaughan, you have Jimi Hendrix, you have Muddy Waters, you have Led Zeppelin, you have the Beatles, you have the Rolling Stones, you have the Clash, you have there's every major musical, Elvis Presley, every major musical development within the last 150 years. If you trace back its history, the blues and the blues form is a part of it. There's probably 1,000 songs that have these kinds of chord changes, and it is a chord progression you're going to want to know. It's a jam session chord progression. It's also going to be the thing that's going to be the progression that you're going to learn to jam with. So 12 bar blues, very, very important. The number one chord progression that you need to know. Listen to Crossroads, first by Robert Johnson, but then listen to Cream's version of it, Wheels of Fire, the live version of it. Cream did a version of it. Moby Dick. There's all kinds of, I'm trying to think of songs. Texas Flood. Just all kinds of Red House. These are Johnny B. Good. These are all blueses. Roll Over Beethoven. Anyway, so you're going to want to check out the 12 bar blues chord progression. We have, and in this description down here, I'm going to put in the comments a link so you can download the PDF to the 12 bar blues chord progression that you can practice. You can play it in any style. It is not relegated to just shuffles. You can play it funky, you can play it rockin', you can play it in country, old country, new country, all kinds of stuff. And it is going to be that thing that's going to make you a better player. I promise you. Anyway, this is Rod from Boomer Guitar Sessions signing out, and you can do this, and I appreciate you, and see you next time. Hi, this is Rod from Boomer Guitar Sessions. I personally wanted to thank you for being part of our community. If you like what we're doing here and you want to see more of it, please hit the like, subscribe, and share. And this helps me spread my musical messages to all over the world. Thank you. I appreciate you. And always remember, you can do this.